I've been meaning to do this for many months, and I talked about it on stream today with some of the viewers here about how there's these all-in players in Age of Empires, and sometimes they get talked down on a little bit. People are like, you know what? They're not playing the game how it's supposed to be played. But I actually disagree with that, and I'm going to change chart to red here just so it's easier to see him. I disagree with that. I think that gaming is supposed to be fun first and foremost. You shouldn't have to feel like you need to win every game. Gaming is supposed to be fun. And everyone has fun in different ways. Some people have fun watching some weird guy with a mustache talk about other people have fun. Other people might think that's ridiculous. So fun is completely subjective. It's down to the person. And all the way to the highest level, we have some players who will play games in different ways. And that's what makes Age of Empires cool, because players play games in different ways. You have different strategies, and you have different ways of approaching situations. Now, God of the Godless is a player who's not new. He might be new to you, but he did play before the Definitive Edition. He was playing at a rather high level, but he shot up from, I want to say, around like 1900 2K-ish level to 2K1, 2K2 when he started to play with Extremes. Now, let me just fix his name here because this has been bothering me. And by Extremes, I mean this. When you're trying to play your very best Age of Empires, you should be aiming to be creating military and creating villagers all the time, right? You need a balance of eco and military. But sometimes, if you go for more extreme measures, like Huang, who makes a lot of siege and a lot of knights, but doesn't create a lot of vills, you can have success. And so for him, he would go for extremes. And he has like a bunch of different build orders that he's tried with different civs that's all about extreme pressure. And so that's probably what we're going to end up seeing here. I should say, his opponent, Chart, is a Japanese player who also has been well known. Both these guys are top 100. And Chart is very solid meta player. I play Chart quite frequently. He plays Chinese like every other game. He's all about the meta, all about trying to win with the best strat. And he's got Koreans versus Huns here from God of the Godless, which I have to assume was probably random civ. All right, so yeah, let's see what happens here. People say, hi, YouTube, live stream is better. You won't smell as much, so it looks like the YouTube smells thing continues. Good to know. Good to know. And so far, you know, this is just standard Arabia. There's not much else for me to talk about. Let's speed up, shall we? Because let's get to the good stuff. I'm going to do a little bit more of this with my content. Please give us feedback. But in some videos, I'm going to get to the point because there's a lot I want to say, but we don't necessarily get there yet. Don't worry, I'm not going to just do this all the games, but as we're seeing the scouts engage here, which will actually be important, so this is a good time to stay on standard speed. We see the scouts fighting. It looks like God of the Godless is winning that fight, and he's going to move along. Okay. Now it's time to look at God of the Godless's eco. He's making a barracks, which is right next to the wood line. He's going to golds, which will probably lead to a mining camp, and he's going to click up to feudal age. 99.9% of players in the top 100, 99.9% of players in the top 1,000 or 2,000 will not play the game the way he plays this game right now. He changes it all the time. He has the ability and the skill to be able to play at a high level in a standard way. And I'm like talking about this. I actually haven't even seen the game. I actually haven't seen this individual game. But if he's going to do what he tried against me last week, and his words were, your walls won't save you. If he's going to do what he's been doing recently, I think I know what's coming, okay? And what it is to focus less on creating vills and more on creating military. And create so much military that the fact you don't create a lot of vills does not matter. Remember that Loey the Legend meme where I'm like, oh yeah, you just killed 3 villagers from someone, but you didn't create villagers for 90 seconds, so it's even? Well, this type of attack would only work if you kill and completely overwhelm. So look at Chart. Chart is walled up. He's going 2 lumber camps. He's playing extremely safe. And normally safe is going to be good against a lot of pressure in Age of Empires. It is a defensive game, as much as some players, like maybe God of the Godless, would disagree. So here's the scouting. He sees all the walls. We have man-at-arms, and now we have double archer range on the hill. Okay? So, not getting the wood upgrade. Everyone else will rush eco upgrades, but eco upgrades only matter if the game's going to go on for a long time. The idea is to kill before eco upgrades matter. So, getting the man-at-arm upgrade, even though the walls are there, and we only have, like, a couple villagers on food. But notice, the idle TC time... Idling is TC, idling is TC, idling is TC, idling is TC, because he's saving for fletching. So everything about this, from 1 lumber camp versus 2 lumber camps, which is more efficient, from idling TC to not idling TC, everything about this build is flood military ASAP. And you've got Chart, and Chart just like, you know what? I'm going to play defensive here. I get the armor upgrades for my archers for free. And I'm going to just make skirms, and I'm fine. I'll make skirms, I'll make vills. He's already ahead by 2 vills. And I'm going to win the game. That's, like, basically the thought process. So, see how it works out. What's tricky is, by the way, and he is making vills every now and then. What's tricky is, when you're playing him, you don't know if he's doing this or not. like, if you don't scout it, like at this point, okay, he sees the double range, so maybe you assume. But since he has the skills to execute on in normal situations, you never really know how he's playing it. And I've been saying this for years. I really wish Huang, who everyone expects is going to do a lot of aggression, watch the Legend of Huang video if you don't know him. I really wish he would just not play in any way how he normally plays once, just to confuse someone. Because people just assume so much, and, you know, and then they're completely fine, and because they've assumed it, and Huang does it anyways. Play something different. It'd be interesting. So, we now have more men-at-arms on the way, which is also very rare. We now have archers all over the place, and the whole idea is break the walls. More archers on the way. Men-at-arms, well, I guess he's going to get armor now. Look at this. No one does this. No one creates man-at-arms past 3 at a high level. Everyone just makes 3, and then they die to archers. And no one's able to push something like this with archers against defensive skirms. Now, granted, Chart could have been faster to fletching. Chart, you could maybe argue, should have another range. But normally, 1 range opening is standard, and then you go into farms. And Chart is completely thrown off guard by this. The man-at-arms and the scouts continue to attack. He knows he needs to kill. He needs to kill. He needs to kill. So he's attacking the houses. And meanwhile, I guess what's really beneficial here is that Chart doesn't really have access to wood. But look at the vill difference. Look at the vill difference. 32 vills versus 25. Even though 0 villagers have been killed. But Chart doesn't know that. Chart must assume that he's behind in villagers because his ecos are wrecked. Look at the focus. He's got to put on defending this right now. He's like, oh god, where do we go? Do we go to the wood line? Do we make a tower? These man-at-arms are doing such a good job because the skirms will automatically attack them instead of attacking the archers. And they're melting the houses pretty quickly. And here we go. We've got more men-at-arms. We've got more archers. Look at his eco. Look at his eco. He's almost out of food, except for the 1 farm. So, I mean, Red's eco isn't great, but at least he has villagers. It's just everything about this is break through the walls. Again, what he said to me was, and thankfully, even though he did break through my walls, I ended up winning. He said, your walls won't save you. Those were the words he used against me. And then he made it into my base. In my situation, I had a little bit more army. I was able to wall behind the walls, but now the army's in, and now... what do you do against this? It's so much military. 17 minutes in, 29 military. He just basically plays it so he never has an idle range. It's always queued up with archers. And he produces just enough man-at-arms to overwhelm the skirms. And he doesn't only play this way, which is what's really exciting. This is his new thing, but he's had other build orders in the past as well. It's like Huang, except he does different stuff. It's really fascinating. And he's right around, you know, he's around 2K2, right? So it's right around the top 100. And now at this point, Chart is over here. And you've got more army over here. Because I think God of the Godless realizes that he can't take wood over here. He's got so much army over here. He knows there's got to be something outside the walls. And now he sees it. And basically what you do is you just focus on the unit control the whole time. Like, at this point, you don't even worry about your eco as he's adding some farms, right? And so it's all about microing the units, and you have to kill. So you put yourself on the timer here, because even though he's killed 5 villagers, he's still behind by 11. But the efficiency hasn't really been there for Chart. Chart may be playing on because of the reputation, and now we have a tower here for Chart, as he's just won some wood right now. But the man-at-arms and the archers, 27 military versus 8, it has been working, it has been pressuring, and he can just dive the tower. Yeah, the game I played against him, he tried to dive my tower, and I was able to quick wall around the tower and basically hold. So I think, like, maybe if that tower stays up, maybe there's a chance. But clearly here, you can't take the resources over here if you Chart. If the tower goes down, your villagers are all dead, and you just cannot take wood, and then the game is most likely going to be over. Man-at-arms are a little weak. More archers are on the way in. It's not pretty. Nothing about this is pretty. We have the repairs now. Chart. Wait, Chart is holding on. Chart is holding on, or is he holding on? He's out of stone. Out of stone to repair. The God of the Godless has killed 12 villagers, and he's still behind. He's still behind in vills. That doesn't make any sense. To normal Age of Empires games, it doesn't make any sense. 25 vills versus 28 now. But he's still making military. He's still pressuring, and he still has his opponent surrounded. And really, just 2 more man-at-arms is what decides it, right? Because he goes after the skirms. And then I think the archers are going to be there for the rest of it. Look at the score right now. Like, the score, nothing about this makes sense for a normal Age game. The score normally says, okay, you killed 16 villagers, you've just won the game. I think the reason Chart's playing on is because he probably has played him on the ladder before. Like, no one in the top 100 is ever surprised by who they play at this point. You kind of know who's who and what they do. And Chart probably knows, and so he's trying to hold on, especially based on the score. I mean, he does have the Vill lead. He is going to make it back to this wood line now. And now we have more men-at-arms and more archers on the way. And he's booming, guys. He's booming. 6 farms. Oh, my God. Just think of the men-at-arm numbers. All right. Well, here, Chart's just going to switch back over here to this wood line now. Okay. Doesn't it get kind of boring, the predictability? I don't think so, because it's really aggressive. If someone just goes fast castle into 3 TCs every time, that could be boring. And again, he's aggressive in different ways, right? Like, this is his, apparently his new build order. This is not how he's always played. He's done other things where he's aggressive in castle and things of that nature, but no, I think, like, if anything, if you think of all the different styles that people have, as he's going to continue to just walk right in here, and Chart's, like, trying to go castle age with all the food, which is probably a mistake, but if anything, I think the more aggressive strategies are probably a whole lot more fun to play, instead of just not making army and hiding behind walls. Especially knowing, as villager number 20 was about to go down, especially knowing that this is not how Age of Empires should be played at a high level, and making it work is sick. So, the game ends, God of the Godless, 27 villagers. Chart, 31 villagers. God of the Godless killed 19 vills. But he was behind by 4 when the game ended. And Chart just got completely overwhelmed. And so if he breaks through your walls, basically, I want to backtrack and talk about why this works, because I think a lot of people are missing one point here, which is important, even if you're not saying it. You can only make that many men-at-arms, make that many archers, and get that many upgrades if you idle your TC. If you're spending 50 food all the time on new villagers, you cannot afford to do that. So the only way that's possible is if you fully commit to idling your TC. And so God of the Godless is definitely, like, he's definitely one of the most aggressive players in Age of Empires right now. And it might not work all the way to the highest level, but to get to the level he's at is pretty cool. And, I mean, let's look at the timeline and the eco. Look at that. Like, this is insane military. I don't know if I've ever seen that much military at 17 minutes before. I think being Huns there probably helped a lot too, because he didn't have to make houses. 2,800 gold collected. He had less wood. He had less food. And yeah, I mean, Chart just never expected that many man-at-arms. He thought the house wall and skirmishers would hold, which in any game against me, it would, because I wouldn't have that many units. Crazy. Overall KD right here. Units killed and lost. It doesn't really seem like a game. If you look at the stats, that God of the Godless should necessarily win. What's this? APM here. Ooh, that's interesting. Yeah, I wondered what the military APM focus was going to be. Both these players are around the same speed. And so, yeah, as we return to the map here, I guess just to close this out, there's another player named Overtaken who you guys might remember from Hidden Cup 3 qualifiers. And he's been developing build orders as well, and he's been slaying bigger giants. And I'm going to have a video on him at some point, because Overtaken is another guy. But I don't know, man. I just think it's so healthy for the scene to have this much variety in terms of a player base and strategies. I'm so excited about that. Like, not just Huang, but that there's other players who can do interesting stuff. And he'll switch it up. God of the Godless can play standard. He might try a different civ or different strat. This is what he's doing right now. But it's like so important for our scene that different strategies are possible. And that's what makes Age of Empires good. There's so many different civs. There's so many different styles that you could go for. And if he's able to execute this all the way up to 2,200, I feel like it should give a lot of confidence to the aggressive nerds out there, watching, who maybe want to try something like this. And there's also the people who are now extremely upset with me because they like to hide behind their walls, and I've just showed them a counter. But anywho, I hope you all enjoyed this. I thought it was really cool, and I'm excited to be able to bring this to YouTube, and I'm sure there will be many more.